songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
I'll say definitely, be creative, utilize the people that's utilizing the rec department. Be able to have them involved, get everyone in the department involved, be consistent. I think that's important. Try new things, be engaging, being able to introduce your department or your programs and who's running the programs. That's important.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our leadership series. We're a family of shows all dedicated to the Parks and Rec industry. And so let me go ahead and run through the lineup. First, the leadership series now runs Monday through Friday with the help of Jonathan Skinner picking up out of California, picking up our Friday show starting here. I think maybe this Friday. He's threatening to start this Friday, but if not, it'll be the following Friday. He's trying to do it with a vacation with the kids. And then, so let's start on Monday. So Mondays, we have our Smart Parks Forward show with host Dave Ramirez talking about technology and infrastructure that's all being updated with the latest and greatest of stuff that can control your infrastructure. So it's a really great show that we do on the second and fourth Monday of every month. Then that brings us to On the Front Line with the legendary John Prue. It's all about military rec. And so that's every Tuesday starting this last January. So that's been running quite a while. Great job on that, John. Wednesday, we partner with Henry County, Georgia to produce 2 monthly shows. The first one with Thomas White from Henry County, Georgia talks about neurodivergence and mental health in Parks and Rec and the role that they play in that. Then on the second Tuesday of every month, we partner with Henry County, Georgia to create the Rec Room, where we pick apart a topic inside of Parks and Rec and just go deep, pull the curtain back, and get to see how a great team solves all the fun that comes into Parks and Rec. Thursday, our oldest running show, the Youth Sports Mastery Show with host Aaron Locks, 1:30 p.m. every Thursday for, over a year now. And so if you're an athletic director, a coach, a referee, or just a parent that wants to learn more about youth sports, especially rec sports, Aaron has been a master at this for over 4 decades. So that's a great show. Then in the evening on Thursdays, we do something for the Young Professionals Network every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're a young professional in this industry looking to connect and learn more about, what it means to be a Parks and Rec professional, that's a great show for you. And then Friday, we close out the week with our latest edition, the Aquatics Life show with our host, Wesley King. If you have not watched this show, or definitely point all of your aquatic specialists to any of the shows that they've created so far. I promise you're going to get something out of it. Wesley drops a ton of wisdom on that show, and he's got some great guests coming on as well. All right, so we have a special guest, JaCory from Harrisonburg, Virginia, where today we're going to talk about teen programs, youth development. Got a lot of great topics to discuss. But before we get going, Jovi's going to play our 500th episode. Thank you. And then when we come back from that, we'll start our conversation with JaCory.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the Parks and Recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen. A place where ideas were shared. A place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes. 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead and in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the Parks and Recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships, working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
All right, JaCory, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Craig. How about yourself?
Good, good. I'm glad you can hear me. We had some technical issues last few shows, so that's just the fun of having live shows.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into Parks and Rec. Were you involved kind of as a child growing up, or did you kind of discover this later in life?
Yes, was involved. My mom, kept me and my brothers involved in something, and recreation was something she put us in. Of course, naturally into sports, basketball, football. Those were the two main ones. But eventually, as I got older, would get into golf. Did do baseball as well. So was always into athletics. Ended up getting introduced to bowling as well.
No
Uh,
way.
yeah, so
You
at a
sound like
young age,
the way you said that, you sound like you do pretty good in bowling.
that's actually, hey, I'm not bad. I could definitely get up there from around 180. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. So my mom, shout out to her, definitely kept me and my brothers involved. So recreation definitely played a huge part.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that was the beginning, far as my introduction. And then I remember, from born in Jacksonville, Florida, but raised in a small town in Georgia, Douglas, Georgia.
Uh,
And when they first built their teen center, our mom, she works at City Hall. She's a city clerk in Douglas, Georgia, and she was like, "Hey, look, they got a teen center. You all are going." So we, we was there when it first opened up and had the, video games and the TV, a place where teens can be able to just hang out and enjoy, their peers. So that was a big introduction into recreation. And then as I got older, when I was 18, I was, wanting to be a teacher. And, so I volunteered as a youth coach. I say, this would be a great way
oh,
to,
that's a good way in.
yeah, great way to work with children. And I love sports.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, look, one day I'll grow up and coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. And
Yeah.
so I was like, you know what, let's start. You got to start somewhere. So,
Uh-huh.
I started with volunteering. My mom was like, hey, look, just sign up. You got to start somewhere, get that exposure. And so I worked with a flag football team, and I ended up was like I wasn't the head coach, but I was just a nice, 18-year-old assistant coach. Worked with a guy, Antonio, who was very happy to kind of take me under his wings. Like, hey, look, let's coach these kids up. And he was another passionate youth volunteer coach, and
Mhm.
so it started there. And I just started working with children, on the athletic side, doing some training with baseball, basketball, football,
Mm.
also into track.
What were some
And
of those
then
early
mhm,
lessons that you learned as a coach? Because I know at 18, there's so much to learn about coaching kids and stuff. What were some of those early skills you picked up?
I think right away, just picked up the kids are unpredictable.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to, you have this focus like, hey, look, I'm gonna go out there and I'm a, act like I'm Bill Belichick, or try to instill the discipline like a Mike Tomlin. And it's like,
Yeah.
some of these kids are out there for different reasons, and some are out there just because their parents told them to go out there. Some are out there because they just want to make friends. They don't even watch the football or basketball. They just want to make friends, just
Mhm.
talk. So that's like the first lesson. I was like, yeah, there's different reasons
Yeah.
that these children are out here, and you have to be able to, recognize what is fun to them, and be able to achieve that for them.
Yeah, even if you can, I think one of the most important things is just have them have fun and just have a love for the game. Um, and, winning happens, losing happens, but, if they hate the game and they don't like being there, then you end up losing them. So I know I've had a lot of, and
Yeah.
I've coached myself. That's been something I've always tried to instill in my athletes.
Yeah, that's a thing I talk about a lot is far as fun.
Mhm.
Often we hear in youth sports, hey, look, just make sure they have fun.
Right.
But what I've learned too is fun has a different meaning for different people, including children. Like there's
Right.
children that, hey, listen, I come to win. It's not
Yeah.
fun if I don't win. Even at 10 years
Right.
old, they're like, hey, look, I want to win. I know the game. I want to be successful. And then there's, like I say, the children who's like, hey, listen, I just want to make a friend. And that's fun to them just to have a friend. They really don't too much care about winning. And there's some that just, hey, look, I just want to be able to play the game the right way. Just how
Mm.
can I play the game the right way? So there's different meanings to the word fun for a lot of children. Now, parents, on the other hand, that's a
Uh,
a big topic right there.
that sure is. What did you learn about parents in those early days?
Early on, I think when I first started, I felt like the parents did take it easy on me, because they was like, "Hey, look, they just appreciated a young man just wanting to volunteer and use his time in a productive way, being out there with the children during practice and spending extra time, with their child, working on their skills." And at the time, I didn't care if I felt like they were going to be good or not. I was like, hey, listen, I'll spend the extra 30 minutes working with them, whether it's baseball, running, or whether it's basketball to shoot with them. So I was just willing, and I think the parents early on really appreciated that. So they did take it easy on me, and also too, they recognized like, hey, listen, how can we help this young man? So I had a parent like, hey, look, I needed a car. Actually, my car broke down one time, and a parent was like, "Hey, look, I have a car dealership. Just come. I love what you're doing with the kids. Just come by my car dealership, and I'll do anything I can to help you out."
Wow. Yeah, great connection there.
Yeah, right, right. So
Yeah.
so that was great. Yeah.
So continuing the rest of your journey, after you kinda coached for what was kinda your next phase?
The next phase, I ended up moving. There was a point in life where I was like, you know what? I first need a job. So I was like, hey,
Right?
look, I need to try to get a job. And then, I applied to Walmart, just trying to be a young man, just get a job at Walmart. And
Yeah.
Macon, the Walmart and Macon called me. And so I ended up moving to Macon. and I met a friend of mine who eventually started working for the recreation department. And he was like, man, you love sports, you know the game. Come on and start coaching. I need a coach for our girls, and
Mhm.
he's like, you've coached before. So I started coaching youth girls in Macon, Georgia. And then he was like, hey, look, if you want a summer position, there's a summer camp position open. You can be able to apply for that. And I applied for that. And, that really just kicked it off. So, during the summer, I would be a summer camp leader. And then, while school was I ended up working in the school system for Houston County, and also, still volunteering for the rec department as a youth coach, and then still doing training as well. So that's when I fell in love with, as far as girls basketball, truly fell in love with girls basketball, and was like, hey, look, how can, we make sure to raise up the next generation of young lady ballers.
Yeah, yeah, and girls basketball has really taken off too. It seems like it just kind of recently blew up. I don't know if that was Caitlin Clark, or I know she's been an all-stars, kind of boosted the industry up, but they had it going really before that. Um,
Yeah. Oh
what's your
yeah.
favorite what's your favorite team?
Far as on WNBA right now, I love all the teams. I'm a
Yeah,
fan of so many different of the players, from
yeah,
Asia Wilson, Angel Reese,
yeah.
but also, the Agunlake sisters. I love from New York Liberty, what they're doing. And then of course I love what DC is building with their young talent. I felt like I've been the one on WNBA for a long time. And I used to
Yeah,
tell my young ladies, like, hey, listen, by the time you all are older, they're going to be millionaires. And once they
right.
made this, that landmark deal, I was like, see, I wasn't lying. I told
Oh,
the
yeah,
truth, so I was very happy when that deal. I was like, okay, I knew the salaries was continue going up. But even
yeah,
back in 2011, I think salaries was like 30,000,
yeah.
so now it's amazing to see where the game is at.
Oh, definitely. Alright, so then how did you get to where you are today? Or was there something between that and Harrisonburg?
So end up, as I went from, just being a volunteer with making bid Parks and Rec, I ended up becoming a coordinator at the Frank Johnson Recreation Center. And that's where truly got started. And they was like, hey, JaCory, we know you are a photographer, and we know you love media, we know you love sports. We would love for you to be able to turn those things into programming. And that's what I did. I was like, you know what, in this position as a coordinator, I want to be able to develop programs that touch on different areas. So that's when I really got started. And I moved up, went from a coordinator one position to what they call a coordinator two. um, and then after that, I became a recreation center supervisor at
Mm.
Bloomfield Gilead, which is another recreation center in Macon Bibb, and spent some years there. And then that's when I was like, hey, look, let me, kind of test the waters, and be able to expand my horizon. And that's when I, got the offer to come to Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Oh, and how long have you been there?
So Harrisonburg, I'm still new.
Yeah.
I made the transition in. I started here in Harrisonburg in February of this
Okay.
year.
How's it going so far?
So far so good. They have been able to embrace me. The city itself is a beautiful city. I love to be able to. It's different than Macon. I look both ways when I go outside. I'm like, okay, I can see a mountain here, I
Yeah.
see a mountain there. The landscape is beautiful. I love the different trails and the different bike routes. So that's amazing. And then everybody's here, has, like I say, embraced me and excited about what I'm here to bring.
Yeah. So now what's the major difference between just being a coach and then now you're a supervisor over programming and stuff?
Yeah, I tell people it's like, I compared it to going from being a coach like in the NBA to no longer being a coach to now you're like similar like Pat Riley, right? You
Yeah.
take Pat Riley, who was on the sideline for years, and then now he's in the front office. And he has to make, he's no longer, doing the X and O's. Now he's like, hey, look, handling the budget and, recruiting the players. And so it kind of like that, like you no longer on the sidelines, and you have to be comfortable with that. Like, hey, look, you're not calling the plays at a basketball game. Now you're actually been a part of putting, the events together.
Yeah.
And so that's like the main difference. 'Cause I know, I've seen some people who come from youth coaching, and they're a coordinator or a supervisor and still trying to coach. And it's like, hey, look, no, you gotta, run the event, operate the event. So that's one of the
Yeah.
main big differences.
Yeah. Now, do you still coach at all, or you have coaches that you have to recruit for your different teams?
So I no longer coach, but I mean, you can still say coach. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
And now I'm a coach with when it comes to media and technology.
Oh, I
So
love
I
that.
have my students there, and they're like my players, and so I coach in that way. Far as bringing up the next photographers or videographers or directors. So I coach that way, but I'm also a certified strength and conditioning coach, as
Yeah.
well as a group fitness instructor as well. So, now I get to add that, to my coaching resume, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, so let's dig a little into your why. Why have you continued to choose Parks and Rec as a career path, and how is it impactful to you?
Yeah, the reason why is just, something that I enjoy. It's a job where um, I feel like it's one of the best jobs out there, because no day is the same. I've worked many jobs, and um, from corporate to being in the school system, being retail, fast food. So worked many jobs, but this is a job where every day is different. I can go from planning a egg hunt to working on a fall festival to teaching children how to work with media equipment, to doing a adult group fitness instruction, to one day talking to Craig on the podcast. So it's a
Yep.
beautiful it's a beautiful job. And I just fell in love with it because, again, I was like, you know what, I can create programs and really help my community, the best way I know how, in exposing people, and giving families a space to bring their children, but also for parents to come and be able to be exposed or learn different skills as well.
Yeah, you would make a great guest on our Youth Sports Mastery show with Aaron Locks, because that's all they talk about is youth sports and coaching and programming all around that area. So I have to connect y'all two on that one.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
all right, so one of the things I'd like you to do
Mhm.
is imagine you're in front of a group of college kids that don't know what they're going to do with the rest of their life and haven't really picked a major. What would be your testimony to them as to why they might want to consider Parks and Rec as a career path?
Oh man, I probably would say all the things that I say to my little sister and my nephew now. As far as, hey, look, this is a job where you can have an impact on a few, but as well as the many. Being able to impact the community, being able to also do the things that you enjoy
Mm,
and do it on a daily basis, but also get to share it with the world. I tell college students now who come in for summer camp and be able to volunteer that, hey, listen, in recreation, if you love baseball, well, guess what? You get to, be able to not only play baseball, but you can also teach baseball and give back to the game that you love so much. And then also too, if you love, say Uno, you can be able to put together different Uno tournaments. And it's just so much that can be done. But far as inspiring and motivating people to find their hobbies, enjoy leisure time, and be able to really, you know, build confidence. It's just so many different things that can be
yeah.
done within recreation.
Yeah. So looking into the future a little bit, where do you see yourself, or do you have any kind of goals that you'd like to accomplish over the next 5 or 10 years?
5 to 10, I would say, hopefully moving up, maybe like I say, possibly a director,
Oh, nice.
going on that admin side, and then, also too becoming more of a mentor in this field. Really, letting people know that, hey, listen, this is one of the best jobs in the world, but this is how to be able to grow in the field, and also be a person who wants to continue learning, and and never stop learning,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So I look to be able to give back to the field the best way I know how, but
Yeah.
hopefully become a director as well.
Oh, that's great. Great roadmap there. Now, are you active at all in y'all state association or NRPA?
So yes, I was active in GRPA as well as NRPA. I'm actually will be presenting in Philadelphia at the NRPA conference
Oh,
coming up.
nice.
So
What are you presenting
I'm
on?
excited about that. So I'm presenting about team programming. So team
Oh,
programming and the impact that it can have. Because again, I think that's something that has become a passion of mine. Just being able to make sure that recreation, truly understands that, hey, look, team, let's not forget about the teens, as well as they're growing up. Let's be able to still have an impact on the teens. So, but yeah, so I've dealt with NRPA with pitching that, but also with the being involved with their micro learning that they do. I feel like
mhm.
NRPA does a great job with far as presenting micro learning. Uh, and then also I dealt with a great team with their grants. So working with Olivia, which was my grant manager,
Uh,
when I was awarded a grant from NRPA. So that was a great experience as well with
wow.
NRPA.
Now, what did you say that was, oh, what's the term you just used? It was
The micro learning.
micro learning. I've never heard of that. What is that?
So just where you're learning information,
Yeah.
it's not a lot of information like a full class, but it's
Right.
just bits and pieces of knowledge just every single day. And so yeah, micro learning.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so when we talk about teen programming and, just about how important that is, because this is a demographic that typically a lot of Parks and Rec departments lose. After they get in high school, they almost leave the Parks and Rec department and don't come back in until they have kids. So what would be your kind of suggestion to help Parks and Rec departments keep teenagers engaged in their programs?
Yeah, I have to look at it from my point of view. Even going back to when I was a teenager, I was brought up, like I stated before, I was brought up in recreation and doing a lot of the athletics. However, when I got to high school, there wasn't many athletics offerings for teens, over 15, or even 14, yeah, 14 and up. Um, and so you kind of have that disconnect, and then also too, you're like, hey, listen, I'd rather just be at the school, at the stay at the school, see what clubs that they have. But I feel like recreation can be able to step in and say, you know what, it's a critical time in the teens lives to where, hey, listen, we may not have these athletic offerings for teens, but here's what we could do and expose them to um, expose them to different careers. I think we can truly become a career hub, and I feel like recreation should look towards becoming a career hub, exposing our teens to different careers. Whether it's the vocational careers, or setting them up for colleges. I think we can truly take the lead in that, and let our parents know that, hey, listen, look to us in the recreation department to be able to help further guide your teens, to the right right part of their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that really is a great opportunity. I love that concept of having like a career, working with them, because there's so many parts of Parks and Rec that, like, even if you're an accountant or an attorney or an architect or an engineer, or you want to, manage golf courses or be a coach, there's like almost a job for everybody in Parks and Recreation. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, so let's chat a little bit about. All right, well, hold on, we're getting close to the break. Let's go ahead and let me go ahead and run the promo spot for our vendors, and then when we come back, I want to talk about embracing technology and a little bit more about youth development and stuff. So today's sponsor is Outdoor Link and the National Academy of Athletic. These have been two companies and vendors that have been serving the Parks Rec community for quite a while, and Outdoor Link helps you become a smart city. So Matt, you know how you got like a smart home. Um, where you can control the door locks and the garage door and the air conditioning. So imagine your whole city was a smart city where all your infrastructure, your lights, your splash pads, bathroom door locks. And so this is kind of what they help do. And then the National Academy of Athletics actually helps you run some of your programming that you don't have the bandwidth to run. So if you have a lot of demand for flag football, but you don't really have the staff to do that, you can kind of assign them, and they'll even do like after school care, summer camp, stuff like that. So both really good companies that have been early sponsors of the Daily Parks and Rec show. So Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run those two promos when we come back and finish up our conversation with JaCory.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right. So I want to talk more about this embracing technology, VR simulation. First of all, how did you get involved in that side of the world?
Well, far as, I've started off with photography. That was something that was introduced to me. But even at a young age, doing video work, mom bought me a camera for Christmas, and I love to be able to video things. And then, like I say, was introduced to photography through my stepdad, Lamont. So, that was, and then I just carried that passion over into recreation, and was like, hey, look, I want to be able to, like I say, give back. It's something that I enjoy doing, give back to it. I seen what photography has done for me, far as, becoming an entrepreneur. So I was like, let's do that. And then, as far as tech, I've always been intrigued by the tech world, even back in high school. I had a teacher who was like, hey, look, part of your assignment is to, you got to look up an article that talks about future technology. And I was like, oh, okay, let me, and so kind of got hooked on technology with that. And then even now I love, where tech is going. And, so I'm like, hey, listen, let's be able to bring that into recreation when it comes to all the different uses of technology.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about your hardware a little bit. What kind of camera and lens, and which brand are you attached to?
am a Nikon person. I don't really have. I guess I'm loyal to that brand because again, that's where my stepdad,
Yeah.
the camera that he put me on. So it just happened. I was like, all right, let me stick with it. But what I try to tell my students is like, listen, let's try to learn all of them. You know, from the Sony to Fuji, Kodak, Canon, Nikon. Try to learn all of them
Yeah.
and just go from there. So, but yeah, so definitely. Definitely Nikon is my go-to.
Yeah. All right. So if you're kind of coaching somebody on how to take good pictures, kind of what do you look for? How do you frame it? Because I know there's a lot of Parks and Rec, even directors, that they're trying to capture these special events or tournaments that they have, and they're just out there with their iPhone and they don't even know a lot about how to capture the image or the B-roll or something. So what would you recommend for them?
Yeah, for my students, you know, or anybody, you know, that I'm teaching, you know, say, hey, listen, let's start off with far as your creativity. Like,
Mm.
what do you like? Let's start there. Like, what do you like? And then, you know, write down far as, hey, look, if you have a client or, you know, a department head, like a director saying like, look, I need you to capture this here. Like, what are they asking you to capture? But also, what do you like? And then trying to, you know, like I say, infuse those two. But knowing your settings, you know, the basic settings of a camera, as far as that, you know, shutter speed and far as where you're going to be, you know, whether shutter speed, ISO, that f-stop, you know, really understanding your settings. So I try to tell anybody, hey, look, you know, understand your settings, understand the equipment that you're going to use. So definitely prepare and find out what you like. You know, you know, what is something that like, hey, look, I like this, you know, because when you touch a camera or video, you become an artist. And
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
artists, hey, you know, artists have different creative styles, and everybody doesn't like you know, may not like a picture that an artist may paint, but that's okay as long as they like it and really love it. And that's what matters.
Yeah. And so what do you like? What are your favorite things to photograph or film? Is it like nature or people, sporting events, social events?
I love events. Always loved events. I've got a chance to capture hundreds of weddings, which is beautiful. It's long,
Yeah.
but beautiful. And you know, the different events from baby showers to you know, family reunions. So I got to capture a lot of different events. And I've also had the opportunity to share that with the teenagers, you know, bringing them in, letting them get their first capture of events. I had a group of teens to capture a wedding before, as well as you know, come to an like a breast cancer event,
Mhm.
um, and capture that their ceremonies as well. So
Yeah. So you got your little side gig, doing photography and special events, stuff like that?
yes, so I had that. I mean, but again, that was back in Georgia. Here up
Oh,
here
yeah.
in Virginia, I've kind of pivoted, but that was, you know, a lot of what I've done on the side was, you know, as a professional photographer, and then I was able to, like I say, merge to two, and have my students to, you know, come with me on gigs or be able to do a gig for themselves. So a lot of the students was able to kind of get their first work experience as a photographer or a
Mhm.
videographer. And so they really enjoyed it, you know, that independence. And then also too, you know, at times was able to pay them, you know, give them a little money. So, and that's another thing teens enjoy. I mean, you know,
Oh,
we have to find ways to get teenagers paid, you know, because hey, you know, at that age, they're like, hey, look, I want a job, I want some money here and there to
yeah.
buy, you know, some things that I want. So I was happy to be able to do that for some of my students.
Yeah, I was talking to another director, and they were saying one of the best ways to keep teens involved is to give them some real things, not just like a sporting event where everything's very structured, but give them ownership and, you know, have them run the programs, have them do stuff because they're at the age where they do have that capacity to lead and to create. And if you don't kind of address that side of where they are in life, you just kind of that might be one of the reasons we lose them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. That is something that I try to focus on. And that's something that I recognize in, you know, as far as doing my team programs, like, hey, listen, I'm losing some of my teams now while I am, you know, recruiting and still getting teams to come be a part of the program, I want to be able to keep them as long as possible. And, part of that, listening to the teams and them saying, hey, listen, Coach Corey, I want to get a job, or, I need money, or, I want to be able to, learn a little bit more as far as real world things. So that was, that was important. And that's what I try to be able to infuse into the program.
Yeah. Now, how is photography and video different if you're explaining this to somebody? Because I know it's like almost two different art forms, even though sometimes you use the exact same camera.
Yeah, I would say it's photography is, you're just freezing. Think about it like, hey, look, almost like you're playing freeze tag, but you have the ability to, like you're playing Mr. Freeze. Hey, look, I want to freeze this time. And video is an ongoing, where it records the history. Like, hey, look, it keeps, it keeps it going, or preserving, the time. But far as photography, I want to snap this moment. And, I've done a lot of different events, like surprise birthdays, for example, when the person don't know and everybody's just waiting and, ready to say happy birthday. And you, as a photographer, you get to freeze the moment to where the birthday person is coming in and like, and they're surprised, and then they start crying. You're freezing those moments where they can go back and look at it. But video, you're able to have that ongoing moment in history where you can capture the audio as well, which, audio, of course, plays a big part. So we want to have great audio as well. And
oh, I think I lost your sound for a second. Let's see. I don't know if that's on my end. Let's see. Can you hear me okay? Okay. You may have to switch. Do you have a cell phone? Maybe you can relog back in on your cell phone. Sometimes that works well. Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run a promo real quick while we figure out our little technical issue.
Welcome to DPRS Media Network, the voice of Parks and Recreation professionals, where leadership grows, facilities thrive, and communities connect. Leadership Series, insights from the leaders shaping our industry. Facility maintenance, the backbone of safe and sustainable spaces. Young Professionals Network, empowering the next generation of Parks and Rec leaders. The Rec Room, real conversations, real stories, real impact. Youth Sports Mastery, elevating the game for athletes and communities. Smart Parks Forward, innovation driving the future of recreation. On the front line, honoring those who serve our communities every day. Athletes Commute, the journey behind the performance. The Aquatics Life, everything aquatics, safety, staffing, sustainability. Safe Spaces and Green Spaces, a show exploring the connection between nature and mental well-being. And we don't just tell the stories, we show up where it happens. From local gatherings to national parks and recreation conferences, DPRS Media Network is on the ground, capturing conversations, highlighting innovation, and amplifying the voices shaping our industry's future. DPRS Media Network, connecting parks, empowering people, inspiring communities.
All right. Is that any better? I think you got yours on mute. I don't know if that's something. All right. Well, while we're trying to get JaCory back on, maybe you can come back on his cell phone. So we have a couple announcements to make. I think I've been kind of saying Jonathan Skinner is one of our new hosts. He's just recently retired out of California. He'll be coming back from vacation here shortly. He's going to help me pick up the Friday show so that we can run our leadership series all the way through 5 days a week. We're also looking at adopting a new software that should help us look more like an ESPN, which is kind of our original vision. It's like, wouldn't it be great if we had an ESPN, but style broadcast network, similar to all the other major news networks and stuff, but all for Parks and Recreation. And so that's kind of the vision that we have. Um, and so that's going to be a lot for Jovi, I know, to manage. But I also starting to see a lot of the. Well, I got another one. We're also partnering with 3 new shows coming up. And so I don't know if y'all saw that episode with Beatrice, but she is super talented ballet dancer, and she's going to help us to create some regular content, either monthly or weekly. We're still kind of working out the details on performing arts in Parks and Rec, because you may not know this, but there's a lot of Parks and Rec departments, not as many as there should be, but there's still a lot that teach the visual arts, the performing arts like ballet and dance and painting and sculpting and pottery. And then we also have like STEM, where they're teaching engineering, 3D printing, stuff like that. Let's see. Is that any better?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we did it. Okay. I was giving everybody a little update. All right. So now I was curious, where do you fall in line as far as all the new technology like AI and, content distribution and stuff like that with all the social media platforms? Do you help at all with your local department as far as helping them create content for the Facebook or anything?
Not with this department, as like I said, I'm fairly new. But with the previous department in Making Bib, I was part of the marketing team, and also ran multiple Facebook pages and Instagram pages for the department as well. So I'm an advocate for I'm with AI to be able to strategically use it. I'm kind of on the side of all technology.
Me too.
Anywhere I can do technology, I'm with it.
Yeah. And so what advice would you give for somebody that's just been, because a lot of times the social media and getting the word out about programs or special events that a Parks and Rec department offers, that's just kind of like handed to a part-time college kid. And so if we have some of those listening today, what advice would you give them as far as social media and how to kind of get the word out and use those platforms?
I'll say definitely, be creative, utilize the people that's utilizing the rec department. Be able to have them involved, get everyone in the department involved. Whether it's making reels or far as even with the way you put the words in, be consistent. I think that's important. Try new things. Be engaging. That's huge. So even if there's jumping on a little trend or doing a little competition and showcasing that, people nowadays are wanting to see who the people are. They're really wanting to get to know people from social media. Like that's a lot of times that's people first exposure to someone, and like, okay, who is this person? And so being able to introduce your department or your programs and who's running the programs, that's important, and you can do that through social media as well. So I would definitely encourage them that way, being consistent and being creative.
Yeah. Now, how do you use AI? I know on our side, we've got several softwares that we subscribe to that help with the posts, and they kind of schedule them for you and help you create them and stuff. Are there any kind of software or AI hacks that you've kind of found to make your job more efficient?
I'll say really, deep diving into its settings. Like, hey, look, turn into an assistant, almost like a computer assistant, really helping you with developing your ideas even more. And then, of course, on the picture side, there's some stock images, that there's software have, like, for example, Canva may not have the particular stock image that I need to do a poster or a flyer. So I was able to, utilize AI to say, look, help build this picture for this stock image, and then utilize it through there. So it's been able to, help far as be productive, even with task management as well. Far as with some scheduling or double checking, the work as well is always a one. I know people kind of rely on to say, hey, look, double check this work as well.
Right. Okay, so I'd like to play a little video. Jovi, if you want to cue up the essential services, maybe give some feedback to the community, especially non-Parks and Rec people, about why Parks and Rec is so essential to our community. We'll play this video for you that kind of, we created this so that we could hopefully that directors would play this in front of elected officials that they're not fully immersed in Parks and Recreation, to let them know, hey, this is super valuable for your community. It should definitely be considered an essential service, not something that we can just cancel if there's like a crisis going on. But Jovi, why don't you go ahead and play that, and we'll come back and we'll get JaCory's take on it.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present: parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety, a playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
All right. So if you're standing in front of a group of elected officials that don't really understand to your level why Parks and Rec is so important to the community, what would be your message to them?
I would say that recreation is important, to all of the community, but very essential, to our youth, in which in return is essential, to our adults, as far as parents as well. It connects it connects the community. When you look at it, as far as it connects the community through fitness services. It connects the community through, far as the athletics, or, with different, people being able to develop their hobbies, and, far as leisure time. So it really has a ability to connect. And, I would tell them, hey, look, here in recreation, not just creating programs, but, you're creating pathways, and especially on the youth services side, working with youth, it's very essential. That's one thing about it. Like, we got to have recreation for our youth from, ages 3 to 18, and then even going into, as far as young adults. Again, I talk about my story, being able to volunteer and with youth sports. Without recreation, I don't know if I would be able to have that opportunity and be inspired to, go the direction that I have went. So that's key. And like I say, I just believe recreation truly works on the holistic development of a human, and that's essential for us.
Yeah. I love that message as far as developing the whole person, and really, I mean, the whole person can actually get developed in the Parks and Rec department from the time they're like little swimmers or toddlers or something, all the way to the like a senior center. You can actually grow up in Parks and Rec from cradle to grave, and that really is a great responsibility that the communities are taking on for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I like a youth services supervisor. I have a preschool that I oversee. So, they're coming in at 3 years old, and then of course, you have seniors as well, and then of course you have your adaptive community that plays a big part. So there's a lot when it comes to recreation. That's why I say I feel like it's the connection. It's the community connection for
Yeah.
everyone.
So what's it like running the toddler? What did you say? The preschoolers? How many of those do you
So
have?
so yes, with the preschools right now we have around 20, a little
Uh-huh.
bit over around 2021 students. So it's fun. It's great to see them in work, and even when the teachers are doing assessments with them, it's amazing to see them grow, weekly, and in how they communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So it brings a smile, to my face all the time when I'm, in the classroom observing, or, just around them when they're on the playground or in the gym. So
Yeah.
it's another way to look at recreation. Like, hey, look, here's the impact, that we're having, and we can be able to truly help the small ones grow, even all the way up to the teen development.
Yeah. What are some of the activities y'all do for the preschoolers?
Some of the things is, as far as being able, of course, reading, read to the children, introduce them to different safety careers. Of course, and had the police to come out, the firefighters to come out, let them get in the truck and see the car. But also, a lot of art activities. Like today, they're painting little vases, for the flowers. Put flowers in and help that grow. Another thing they did, like a small project, even with far as working like with caterpillars,
Uh-huh.
seeing the growth of caterpillars into butterflies. So we have a great staff, teachers and coordinator do a great job in
Wow.
putting the curriculum together and still making it fun. That's a very great thing. Still making it fun, still having them to be active as well. That's big here, is making sure that the students are active.
Yeah, that's a great age group to work with. Um, all right, so I have a question for you. This is kind of tradition at the end of our show. Our previous guest left you a question, and then you'll have to think of a question you'd like to leave for the next guest. So it can be a fun question or a serious question, but this one's kind of fun. This comes from Richard Bentley over in Covington, Louisiana, which is where I'm from. I don't even get enough Louisiana guests here. I need to start reaching out to them more. Um,
Okay.
Question for you, and he does this for his staff to get to know one another. And this is his favorite question to ask. He says, if you order nachos, how are you going to have them made?
Order nachos. How would I have them made?
Yeah. Like, what do you put on them? Are you like a sweep the kitchen, pile everything? Or are you like the cheese and ground meat or what?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, definitely a good load. I would say add some veggies, maybe some green peppers, probably, of course, some good cheese,
Uh-huh.
some sour cream, some corn, tomatoes.
Oh, you're
Uh,
making me hungry.
yeah. So I would definitely, add that. That would be, and then a bacon. Gotta
Oh,
add
that's
some,
right.
yeah, put some bacon in there, chop them
Everything's
up,
better with
bacon
bacon.
pieces.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, that's my thing right there.
Fantastic. All right. So what question would you like to leave for my next guest?
um, I would say, kind of, piggyback off this here when it comes to technology. How would the next guest see the world, in 10 years? Like, what would, how do they feel like technology would be in the next 10 to 15 years?
Ooh, that's going to be a tough. What would be your? I'm curious as to your answer to that one because I don't even know. It's growing so fast. I can't even put my finger on it.
Yeah, my take on it, I feel like we would definitely, AI is here. I mean, it's here to stay, but even in a bigger way as well. You know, definitely different VR type stuff. Virtual reality is more of a thing. Of course, with the robots,
Oh yeah,
robots would, you'll have your robots here and there. So I just think probably with that would be the biggest thing. There's a tech gear that hasn't been made, you know, hasn't been made, as far as to the public,
right.
accessible, and that it's coming, that it'll be out. We probably don't even know it
Oh yeah,
at this moment what it's called. It hasn't been invented yet. So in the next 10
right.
years, there's going to be something that's going to take over, that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I just as a hobby, I follow closely robotics and a lot of the robotic mowers and sprayers, but also the humanoid robots are starting to be
Mhm.
produced right now. So you're going to start see robots in the shapes of humans doing what humans normally do, and I just don't even know how to prepare for that world. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's coming.
it's here. Oh yeah, it's here. I mean, they got some in Georgia already, in Savannah with the humanoids working in the cars factory,
Yeah.
and like, so it's here. So it's amazing to be able to see what humans can do. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm
me
not.
too. I'm excited to be alive during this time. I wanna see how it plays. That might be the end of humanity, but at least we get a front row seat.
Well, as long as we're able to put it into recreation,
Right.
somehow,
That's
maybe
it.
have some humanoids to play with the children,
Yeah.
maybe they can,
Walk your dog.
yeah, yeah, like that could be fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, JaCory, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Appreciate you sharing your story and all your information about teenagers and leadership development there and technology. And thank you so much for all the hard work you do for your community. It's definitely appreciated.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, and I enjoyed it. And anytime or anything you need from me, I'll be down to help.
Well, have a great rest of your week, and thanks for coming on the show.
All right, thank you too.
All right, take care. Bye. All right, so that was another great show. Gosh, I love to talk about technology. I could talk about robots and AI till the end of time. I think it's just a scary world. Scary, I don't know. Could be an abundant world coming our way, and I think Parks and Rec is going to play a vital part in that because I think people will be looking more for quality of life and connection. And it seems like the more we get dialed into the screen and the apps and stuff, that our body just needs a break. And every every city in America has a Parks and Rec department that offers programs that can connect people and that you can get outside and you can, do sports or yoga or anything else. And I think that is just going to become more and more important. I actually think Parks and Rec will greatly benefit from all this AI and robotics revolution that's kind of coming our way because people are going to want to connect and get out and, be connected to their community. So definitely keep it up, guys. All right. So that's all we have for today. Tomorrow, we have another leadership series along with Friday. Jonathan Skinner, I think, is coming on with me to do a leadership series. And then Aaron Locks, of course, is going to run a 1:30 Youth Sports Mastery show. He always does a great job. Definitely check that out. But thank you all so much for attending today. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Love you. Thank you for all the support. See you all tomorrow. Bye.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom-branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.